Hello everyone, it is Princess underscore Mini4 and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, this is going to be me explaining to you guys, it's been a month since I've been a pediatric medical assistant. If you guys are new here, please make sure you hit that notification bell and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a post. Alright you guys, so y'all know I wrote my little Google document, so I'm just going to be reading this to y'all, alright? Hopefully it's not too long. How many pages is it? Alright. I titled it Life as a MA or Medical Assistant. A little recap for the new people. I started college back in 2020. I went to a community college and I received my Associates of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences. Then I went to a university in 2022 and I received my Bachelor's of Arts in Liberal Studies with a concentration of General Studies. In August of 2024, I started applying to a bunch of jobs. I had no rhyme nor reason, just trying to get a job after graduation. I ended up having a very hard time finding a job, even so hard I considered going back to college to get my master's degree. I lacked experience and that's why I was having an issue, but also the majority of people were/are having a very hard time finding jobs. Even with experience in the appropriate schooling. The job market is trash right now, but I still felt like it was my fault. I ended up getting one single interview and still haven't heard anything back from them even to this day. That was December of 2024. But in February of this year, I started looking into the medical field again. I always had an interest in the medical field all my life, and since I wasn't working, I decided to try again. I had tried the phlebotomist program back in 2021, and I gave up when it got tough. But I started my medical assisting class at the end of February, and I graduated in the middle of May, and I passed all my certification exams that I took. The day after my last exam, I was told by one of my instructors that she sent my resume over to a pediatric office, but they had just hired someone else. But I wasn't in that big of a rush to get a job because I had this idea in my head that I wanted to enjoy my summer one more time. Then again, I'd apply for jobs starting in the fall. But the Lord had other plans. I had an interview on May 27th with the place I'm currently working at now, which came only 13 days after I finished my schooling. I think the interview went well, and I was told that I'd get an answer back by the end of the week. When I didn't mind it too much because I was having my diagnostic laparoscopy on June 5th. So I was focused on my recovery, but I did end up calling them on June 10th to check on my interview, and they had completely forgotten I came in at all. Like literally, y'all, I called them and she was like, "Oh, you want to come in for an interview?" I was like, "I already came in for an interview." And she was like, "Oh my God," but I decided to go in again for another interview. And the following day, I had another pediatric medical assistant interview. At that time, I preferred the second job I went to because it was no late nights, maybe 30-ish patients per day, and they were very big on work-life balance, and that's always been my biggest motto since applying for jobs. And it's like, I want to be able to work a job, a full-time job, make money, enough money to live in this world, but still have my hobbies, my time to myself, time for family, appointments, all of that. Work-life balance is what I really want. I'm still looking for that, But they never called me back. And I called them a week after that interview to check up on it, and then all of a sudden they had more interviews. Because when I first went there, she was like, say I went there on a Wednesday. She was like, "Oh, I have another interview on Tuesday. And after that interview, I'll give you a decision." So I called her on that Wednesday and I was like, after the Tuesday, I was like, "Oh, has there been any update?" "Oh, I have another interview tomorrow." So I was like, okay. So I just never called them again and they've never called me back. I kind of figured then I didn't get the job. And not try to be like this, but the whole office was Caucasian and I'm African American. And not saying that that's about everything, but if you know, you know. So what ended up happening, I had to make a decision that next day. Like I called that Wednesday. I needed to make a decision, let's say that Thursday, by the first interview. So I was talking to the people back and forth where I went to school for, my medical assisting school, and she was like, a job is better than no job. So I just went with the first job. At the time, I was very indifferent about this job. For one, I didn't want to, nor was I ready to work a full-time job just yet. But again, the Lord had other plans. My original start date was supposed to be July 1st, but they took so long getting my information about the background check and the drug screening, so they had to delay my start date to the 7th. Because they were sending it to the wrong email, whatever the case was. I was supposed to start on the 1st, but then you can't start any kind of job in the medical field without a background check and a drug screening, so, which makes sense. It makes sense. You're literally working with patients and stuff like that. So, I wish I would have known that I had an entire extra week, because maybe I would have taken advantage of that and went to the beach or something I normally do during the summer. I usually come up with a plan in May, and I try to a plan of things I want to do in the summer. It's like, it's hot out. You get to go to the beach and, amusement parks. Yeah, I didn't get to do none of that. None of that this summer, y'all. I have not done anything this summer, and summer is about over. Today is August 22nd. Hold on, my Jesus clock is about to go off. But yeah, so today is August 22nd, y'all. And yeah, I mean, the one thing I did get to do this summer, which was last weekend, was go to my aunt's house and swim in the pool. But that's it, y'all. Normally we go to a food truck festival. We normally go to any kind of festival, like a music festival, any kind of summer thing, or we go to the shore, and we don't always have to get in the water, but we walk the boardwalk. There's a lot of things I like to do in the summer, and then just this year I got a job, so I haven't been able to do anything for the summer. So it's kind of depressing, but I'll get over it. I'll live. It's a part of life. We have to work. You have to work all day, every day, and don't get nothing else to do. But it's okay. I am a very big person of consistency, and when I was looking for a job, I was hoping I would get a job where I would work the same hours and the same set days per week. For example, working the 7:45 through 5 p.m. shift and having a Friday off every single week, so it never changes. That's what I kind of hoped I would have, but that's not what I have, and that's okay. Sometimes I'm working the 7:45 a.m. through 5 p.m. shift, or the 11 a.m. through 8 p.m. shift, and I go between 2 different locations, and my days off vary every single week. But I'm getting used to it gradually. The weeks are very long and very exhausting. I feel like I'm tired all the time. I've been going to bed at 10:30 p.m. most nights, and on the days I go in early, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. And the days I go in later, I'm waking up at 7 a.m. because I get home so late. I want to work out and stuff before I go in, The majority of my days are 9-hour shifts, but I do have an occasional half-day shift. Everybody has a half-day every now and then, which is a 7:45 a.m. through 1 p.m. shift. It's going to take a little while getting used to working full-time, especially since I've never done it before, and I was not working at all until July 7th. I literally went from not working, not being in school, to just thrown right into working, I know I wasn't out of school for long, but I don't know. Those 3 hours we did for clinicals is nothing compared to what I do all day. I went from having 24 hours to myself to having maybe an hour on a weekday. So it's not a completely easy transition, but the Lord is with me. I do love what I do, though. I love seeing all the kids, y'all know I love kids, and getting their vitals and giving them vaccines. A typical day in my life, so this is going to be my whole rundown since I can't really film at work. I walk into work. I always put my bags down. My grandma be making fun of me, y'all, but I go into work. I have my book bag on. I have my lunch bag on my arm. It's hanging down here. I have this Sharkeisha. This is Sharkeisha Jr. I have my other Sharkeisha. So I'm walking in there with a bag, 2 water bottles. One big 64 ounces and this little, I guess that's 12 ounces, whatever. That's me. We all walk in there like that, though. We all come in there with a whole bunch of stuff. We're gonna be there for 9 hours. So I put my stuff down right at my little my little laptop. We all have little laptops, unless you're a nurse and you have a desktop. Then, depending on how early I get there, I'll put my lunch away. I'll use the bathroom, unpack all my stuff that I'm gonna need for the day. Then I'll clock in. Now, if I'm running late, I clock in first. You know what I'm saying? So usually we have a little whiteboard and we see what provider we're working under that day. Either you can pick it or you just have to, whatever they picked for you. I start preparing their vaccine sheets. So I have little examples, y'all. So I start preparing their vaccine sheets. So I'll see if I think I have it. So it has the name of the place I work at. Oh, I can't show y'all this. I don't think I can. So this is our vaccine sheets, y'all. So it just has a whole list of the vaccines. So I'm just gonna give hepatitis B, rotavirus, pentacell, MMR, varicella, hepatitis A. It has all the, you know, the HPV, the meningitis B, all of these vaccines, PPD, all of those, COVID-19. So pretty much you need to put the patient's name, first and last name, their date of birth and their age and their insurance plan. Because if they're on Medicaid or they're like self-insured, or like not self-insured, self-pay, they get a different vaccine. I don't know why, but they do. Like my grandma was like, are they giving them like a cheaper version of the vaccine? I'm like, I don't know. But if you're on like Medicaid, which I am, if you're on Medicaid, you get a different vaccine than people who are on like, you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? And then pretty much when you call the patient back, you get their vitals, you put this on the door, and then the doctor grabs it and they go in, and then whenever, you know, they come out and they check them off, and it has to say accepted, and the parents have to sign it and the provider has to sign it. Then you can go draw them up and give it to the patient. So this is a vaccine sheet. I do that if I have time before all my patients come, and I do it for the whole day, from like the time my first patient is to the time my last patient is. So that's what I do. And you only have vaccine sheets for the well visits or physical exam. We call them well visits, but it's a physical exam, like your yearly. Yeah. And when you go on their chart, it has like an immunization schedule, and it will automatically tell you what ones they need. So I put a little like circle on there. I mean, the doctor ultimately has the end say, but I put a little circle by the ones that I think that they need, and then they do the rest. So that's the first thing I'm gonna show y'all. Depending on the day, my first patient will most likely already be there. So I look for an empty room, then we type it in the thing. We type what room we're putting them in, and we usually have this little thing that says start visit. So when you hit start visit, that means the provider's like, okay, my first patient is here and my MA has started doing their vitals. So that's what that start visit means. Don't hit start visit if you're not taking the patient back. As soon as you hit start visit, it's timing you, right? It says how long that you've been on start visit. So you want to hit start visit, put the room number you're putting them in so the providers know where they're going, and then you call them back and you start doing their vitals. So then I call my patient back. Now, if it's a baby from birth, we literally have them coming like 2 days old till 2 years old and 11 months. We bring them back into the room immediately. We say, hello, how are you? We say, we're going into room 1. So we bring the baby in there and the parents, whoever it is. And then I ask the name of the individual who is accompanying them. We always have to say who is with them. If it's mom, dad, grandma, foster mom, adopted mom, whoever it is, we need to know who it is. Then I ask if the baby is on any medications, which are usually on vitamin D when they're that little, like 2 years old, or like, you know, it depends. But if they're like infants, it's usually just vitamin D drops. So I need to see what medications they're on, any allergies they may have or suspect that they may have. If there has been any changes in their family or social history. So family history means a family member died from something, so forth, whatever, cancer, diabetes, whatever. That's with the family history. The social history is like the mom can say, oh, I'm pregnant again, or I adopted a kid. That's the social history. Then we have any new hospitalizations or any surgical changes, you know. Usually when it's a baby, it's like a circumcision, you know, stuff like that. You know, those are all the things we ask when we pull them back. Then I would say, okay, you can strip the baby down to their diaper. So if they're wearing a onesie, you take the onesie off, keep the diaper on. They pee-pee very fast and a lot, okay? I've had quite a few babies just start peeing anywhere. So I tell them to strip them down to their diaper and I'll be back with the baby scale. So I step out and I give them about 2 to 4 minutes. It don't take long to undress the baby. Then I roll the little baby scale in there. But while I'm giving them that little time, I put that info from above, like the family history, the who's with them. I put that in the chart. Then I bring the baby scale and I do the actual vitals. So the first thing I do when I roll this baby scale in there is I say, okay, we're gonna weigh the baby first. Can you remove the baby's diaper and put them on the scale? So they have to, when they're young, up until they're almost 3 years old, we have to weigh them fully naked. So even when it's like a sick visit, because it needs an accurate weight. So we have to do them fully naked. And then we get a weight. And then I told them to put the diaper back on immediately because they pee so quick, boys and girls. I've had the girls start peeing and the boys start peeing immediately. So then I had them lay the baby down straight, and you have to stretch their legs out, like you push down on their knee. And I hate doing it on the infants, like when they're like I said, 2-3 days old. I hate doing it because they want to sit like this, but you got to like push down on their knees so you can measure down there with the pen and measure on the top of their head. And then you take the measuring tape and you measure it. Then you also have to do a head circumference on their head, and then you also have to get their temperature. And then I'm done. I said, I'm gonna put this all in the chart. Dr. Blank Blank will be with you shortly. I'm done. You know, then I put all of this stuff in the chart, all their vitals, and then I put on there's a little, like I remember how I said you hit start visit, you hit ready for a provider. Then the provider goes in because they know that we're all done. So I'm usually all done unless they need something else. Now here is something I am going to show you. There are different forms for all age groups. So when you have an infant come in, I think from all the way up to age 2, I believe, they get this right here. So this is we call it the EPDS. This is the postnatal depression scale. So this is for the mom to fill out, and it determines if she's going through postpartum depression. So the front desk, when they check them in, they hand them this. We have to take this and put it in the chart for the doctor to see. I don't know what happens, because I've had one patient who had a really high, because it's graded by what they say. So I'm gonna give y'all one example. I have been able to laugh and see the funny side of things. The answers are as much as I always could, not quite so much now, definitely not so much now, not at all. So those are the answers. Then there's one of these, number 10, the thought of harming myself has occurred to me. Yes, quite often, sometimes, hardly ever, or never. So whatever they answer gets graded. And I don't know what happens inside. I've never been inside when they're doing the little physical, but I'm assuming if it's like, because I had one person had a really high number, like a mom had a really high number, but I don't know what happened inside of there, you know. But that's what they get for that age group. Then we also have, for like not a baby, but like a toddler, we have an MCHAT. So this is the MCHAT. Let me make sure I don't say where I work at. This is for autism in toddlers. So if it's like a really high scale, they'll probably send them somewhere to get tested for autism. So one of the main questions that usually are no, this means like your child is, I guess, normal. I don't know. It says, does your child make unusual finger movements near his or her eyes? That one is almost always no. I've never seen a yes on that one. There's one of these that says, have you ever thought your child was deaf? That's on here too. Then it says, because what is that one? That one's always no too. Yeah, that's number 2. Have you ever wondered if your child might be deaf? That one's always no. It's usually 2, 5, and 12 are always no. At least when I've done it. 12 is, does your child get upset by everyday noises like, you know, loud music or vacuum cleaner? Those are always no. But the ones that are usually yes are like, does your child climb on things? If you point at something, does your child know to go to it? You know, this is for the autism. This is for the baby age group. So once the mom or dad or whoever's with them fills these out, I have to put these in the chart. That is something else that we have to do. Let me turn the fan on, y'all. All right, so usually I am all set unless they need any kind of vaccines or any kind of lab test, like a strep test or a urinalysis or The fecal test. Yes, poop. Yep. We do that. We do all of that. I'm giving y'all the full ins and out of being a medical assistant. And if I need vaccines, I do that once the provider is fully finished. That little form I showed y'all, they come out and say, we need a Hep A, Hep B, blah, 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 blah. And then I have to go draw it up and then I go do it. They literally just walk out and hand it to you. I'll be cracking up. Sometimes if you're like pulling back another patient, I'll come back and it's just sitting on my computer. I said, oh, they need shots. I'll be cracking up. I'm like, oh, they just put it there. They're like, look, she'll get it when she get back. Now for ages 3 and up, once I call them back, I get their temperature at the front. Then I have their height and their weight. Tell them to remove their shoes, step up on the scale. Then you get their height and their weight. Then depending on the age, they will need a hearing and vision screening. Let me see. So they gave me this when I first started working there. So this is for working up patients. So I use this every day because certain age group needs certain things. When they're below 3, they get their first spot vision. So it's literally an iPhone. And it takes a picture of their eyes. And it shows if they may or may not have any kind of eyes issue in the future. It's kind of cool. So yeah, that's one thing. They get a spot vision at 1 year old, 2 years old, and 3 years old. So it takes a picture of their eyes and it determines if there's going to be something wrong in the future, and it's usually right. So now they get their first regular vision at 4. Then it's 4, 5, and 6. Then it's 8, 12, 15, and that's all hearing and vision. And then at 20, they just get a hearing. Cause I guess by then they're like, oh, you go to a regular eye doctor by then. So that's that. Depending on their age, we'll get their hearing and their vision first. Then I bring them to a room and I ask the same questions from above. Any medications? Can I get your name, mom? Or if I'm not sure, I'm like, are you mom? Are you dad? Because sometimes you really can't tell. Because I made this mistake one time saying, is this mom and grandma? She's like, I'm her aunt. I said, ooh, my bad, you look a little old. Like, my bad. Anyway, I don't do that no more. I just say, are you mom? Or I'll just say, can I get your name, mom? So if you're not mom, then they'll say, oh, I'm not mom, I'm grandma. I'm like, okay. So I don't say that no more. You know, you learn. Then after I get all those questions, I get their blood pressure, I get their pulse with the pulse ox, and their respiration. And the way I do respiration, because when you do respiration, you don't want the patient to know you're taking their respiration, because then they're not going to breathe natural. You want them to breathe natural. I usually just say, I'm going to take a listen to your back. And I put the stethoscope back there, but I'm not really listening. I'm just watching their chest go up and down. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I do it. And I do that for 30 seconds. And whatever number I get, I just times it by 2. It's not always easy and flawless every time. Because some people, you just can't see them breathing. I'm like, I know you breathing because you're sitting right here. But you really just have to like pay attention, you know. So yeah. This is the basic for all visits. Like the basics for all visits is height, weight, blood pressure, pulse, and respiration. That's for all visits. Now when it's like a well visit, then you have like the hearing and the vision. But yeah, so the visits that we have in our office is our well visits, which is a physical exam. We have med checks, mostly for people with ADHD. They need to come there, you know, when you have a medication, I think every 3 months you need to get a med check to see how the medication is working, and they'll like renew your prescription. We have follow-ups and we have sick visits. So if it is a well visit from ages 3 and up, we get them a gown to put on. I usually say, here's this gown. You can keep your underclothes on, which is your bra and your underwear. If you're a guy, just your underwear, and have it open in the back. So I'm gonna make a separate clip. Now, as a medical assistant, our job is also to clean the rooms after the patients leave. We also need to unpack deliveries, and that excludes vaccine deliveries. Only the nurses do that. We need to put the stuff away. We need to keep the rooms fully stocked. Run any test screens after the provider has gotten the sample, which is usually, well, they don't get the urine sample. They usually just give them the cup. But they swab their throats for the strep, RSV, flu. Then like the pregnancy test, we get the urine. We've done that, and the stool. We also have to do ear cleaning or flushing. I haven't had to do that yet. That's one thing I haven't done. But I've done the stool samples, not by myself, but I've been right up in there. I'm like, that's nasty. Yeah. We also have to check the vaccines and the temperature of the fridge or the freezer that they are in. We need to order any supplies that are needed. It's a lot. Medical assistants do a lot, and they don't get paid that much. And yet, getting our patients back and working them up is our #1 priority. So we have quite a few things in our job description, but it is very tough with time management when patients are arriving every 15 minutes. They have patients arriving every 15 minutes. The first one is like 8 o'clock. You got an 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9, 9:15, 9:30. I'm serious. Every day, patients are coming every 15 minutes. Unless the provider is like, look, give me 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But if it's like a day where it's all 6, every 15 minutes. Now, their well visits, I think they give them 30 minutes. So it's like every 30 minutes, but still. I wish they would move back the time patients start to arrive from 8:15 a.m. to at least 9. So we have an hour to stock the rooms and organize the supply closet. It gets really junky really fast. Think about it. We're running in there grabbing stuff and not putting stuff back because our patients are coming. So it gets junky really fast. But it's very hard to do all this when you have to call patients back. But it's the way it is. But on a busy day, we have about 60 patients. And some days we have up to 4 providers at a time. We only have 8 available rooms, so that means 2 rooms per provider. And on a slow day with only 2 providers, we can have 3 room patients per provider. So yeah, if you have like 4 patients waiting in the waiting room, but you got 2 back there, they got to wait. They just gonna have to wait. The providers being slow, they just gonna have to sit in the waiting room because we could only have 2 patients per provider. It's a lot I'm still learning. Since the second week, I was thrown to the wolves and I have been bringing back my own patients since then. Like literally, I walked in on my second week and they were like, oh, you with blank blank today, and just left. I said, oh, I'm by myself now. I started vaccine training on the 29th of July. And now I'm able to give vaccines. Oh, that's so funny. I'm able to give vaccines to all the kids. All the kids. I've given the youngest vaccine I've given to a baby was his Hep B, which they usually get in the hospital, but he didn't for whatever reason. I gave that to a 12-day-old baby. Worst vaccine I've ever given. You know when they do that cry and they don't breathe for 10 seconds? That's what happened. And I felt like I just murdered him. Like I hated that. I don't care for hurting kids. I love kids, but it is what it is. Over time, you kind of lose like, not empathy, but it's like, oh, okay. You know, like, I mean, it is what it is. I just go, push it in and that's it. But that one hurt me. He's only 12 days old. I felt so bad. Like, but it's my job. So, but yeah. I have also done, I think, 2 or 3 lead and hemoglobin, which is like the little stick. So they test to see if they have lead in their blood. As of today, I have received my 3rd paycheck from my job. The pay isn't bad, but in this economy, I'm not entirely sure I would be able to have my own place, pay for car insurance, car payment, gas, and any other bills with my 2 paychecks a month. I don't think so. We don't make that much. And it's like, I think if you would go to like specialty, you would probably make more. I feel like I don't make that much because I'm pediatrics. And they told me that when I was graduating my medical assistant school. They were like, yeah, you're not going to make much. They didn't say you're probably not. They say you're not going to make much because you're working pediatrics. But this is my first job. It seems like anything with children, the salary is always on the lower side, like teachers. I feel like if I went to specialty, I might have made more an hour, but who knows. But regardless of the pay and the hours and the shifting shifts in the locations, I do enjoy the act of being a medical assistant. I love that wholeheartedly. We are a month and 15 days in, and truth to be told, I'm still in the adjusting phase of this new season of my life. I'm still so used to living a very structured life. Waking up at 9 a.m., eating lunch at 2 p.m., eating dinner at 6 p.m., working out at 7 p.m., and reading at 8:30 p.m. for some examples. Now I pretty much try to do these same things whenever I have the time or the mental or physical capacity to do so. Some days after work, I'm super duper exhausted that all I can do is sit in my lounge chair and just disassociate. Like, I'm serious. Like, my grandma be talking to me, I don't hear nothing. Some days when I drive home from work, y'all, I don't know how I get home. Like, I don't even remember the drive. I'm just home. I'm like, okay, Like, sis, you need to stop disassociating. Like, that's not safe. It's the strangest thing. I do truly hope this is a phase and it'll soon come to pass. But it's so exhausting, y'all. Like, I'm telling y'all, the weeks are so long. Like, this week wasn't too bad, but I don't know, I got my cycle and I was in so much pain. And then that video that came out about me saying a frustrating day in my life, yeah, that just happened on Monday. So some days are just not, some weeks they're just rewarding, and some weeks are just like, I survived, you know? But all in all, I'm still learning on the job, and being the newest member comes with its own challenges. It's like being thrown onto a TV show on its 15th season. Everyone knows everyone, and you're just sitting there while they converse and buy each other food and never ask if you want anything. No, I'm legit serious. They'll sit right next to me and order things for each other and never ask me if I want anything. But it's cool, because when I go to order something, I won't ask you either. Anyway, but there was a guy who came a week ahead of me, and me and him are kind of close. And I think that's because we're both new and we're kind of close. And he's like, not saying that the other ones don't, but he kind of takes the time to know people. I feel like the other ones don't do that, you know? It is what it is. But he's so nice to me, y'all. He went out and bought me a pumpkin spice hand sanitizer because I mentioned how much I love pumpkin spice. Like, he's a good person. I like him. I can see him and I becoming friends, but I don't know about the others. And not like in a bad way. Like, we would be acquaintances and like maybe even good co-workers, but I think that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it would only be, even with him, like, I'm not gonna say we're gonna hang out outside of work or nothing. I'm just saying, like, I feel like we would be closer. Like, whenever he's there, he's like really the only person I talk to. Like, when he's not there, I'm quiet. Literally, like, I'll talk if I need you or something, but I'm still new. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. But a little rant to end this video off. We are giving a provider when we walk in. So let's say I'm working with Dr. Smith today. So I am in charge of calling back Dr. Smith's patients, getting their vitals, running any tests they need, or giving them vaccines. It's the same for all of us. Now, occasionally we are short-staffed, so we may have to share a provider, but that's not too common. Anyway, we have a few co-workers that always ask the other MAs to call back their patients, which normally I do not have an issue with, especially if they are giving vaccines or running a lab. For example, yesterday, I'm the only one that was there yesterday that was giving vaccines. Because the dude that I'm talking about that we're friendly with, he only gives vaccines to the older kids. He doesn't feel comfortable to do the younger babies, which is fine. If you're not comfortable, then don't do it. So he did not feel comfortable doing the baby, so I said, okay, I'm gonna give your patient, your baby, a shot. Can you run back my patient, because my patient has been sitting there? Can you? And he's like, yeah, cool. I have no problem running back your patient if you're doing something. But the people who have asked me to run back their patients have been sitting on their phone, have been just talking, not doing anything. They just didn't feel like taking back their patient. Or even one of them said, oh, can you take back my patient because I don't like her? Like, literally, she said that to me. So I called back her patient. But it's like, depending on the circumstance, I have no problem. Like I said, if you're getting a vaccine, then yeah, I'll bring back your patient if I'm not doing anything. But if you're just sitting there on your phone, why can't you bring back your own patient? Okay. So also, I like to keep track of my patients and my provider when it comes to cleaning the rooms. We only have 8 rooms. We see 60 patients per day. So when your patient leaves, there's a dirty room, but there's still patients in that waiting room. We can't bring back a patient in a dirty room. So when I spot my patient or my provider out of the room, I try to immediately jump up and clean that room. So that way, anyone else can use that room. Some of the other MAs do the same, but those same few, they just sit there and be on their phones and barely clean the rooms unless they need it for their own patient. They only care about themselves. I be running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to clean 5 daggone rooms because the other 2 MAs are busy chatting with the nurses or with the providers, and patients are sitting in the waiting room and 5 rooms are dirty. This happened to me one day. I went back to call my patient. The 2 MAs were talking to each other. I got up to go call back my patient. There was no rooms. But there were 5 dirty rooms. There were 5 dirty rooms. I had to go and clean 5 rooms because why would I just clean 1 room? I had to put the gloves on. I might as well clean all 5 of them. So I had to clean 5 dirty rooms to call back my 1 patient who's now been sitting there for 15 minutes because I needed to clean the room. The provider's sitting there wondering why his patient's not getting called back because I'm cleaning the room and the other 2 MAs are just sitting there talking. Ooh, I wanted to just go off, y'all. Ooh, I just wanted to go off. It gets annoying. It gets really annoying. As MAs, we should be helping each other out, not giving your patient to another MA who is already stressed out with her own patients while you scroll on social media or talk on the phone, and not cleaning any rooms because you're busy not working. But it is what it is, and I'm the newbie, so what can I say or do about it? Just deal with it. All I can do is just deal with it. You know what I'm saying? But I'll be praying about it. God's grace, because that's what gets me through. I don't say nothing to nobody. I just do what I need to do, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, this is my job. I'm doing it for a paycheck, and that's all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm doing it for experience too. I needed to get that out, y'all. But I will update this in 2 more months so y'all can see my 3-month update. And I'll do like a 6-month and then a 1 year to see my process of being a full-time employee and what it's like to truly work as an MA in 2025, 2026. So yeah, that is it, y'all. It has been my first month of work. I love being an MA. Some days are harder than others. Monday, I was really contemplating if I really wanted to do this. Really, like, I was really just stressed out. The doctor was being smart with me, and like, I was just like, you know what I'm saying? And you're gonna go to a job and you're gonna realize that there are some rude people, some rude MAs, some rude providers, but at the end of the day, you need to do your best, and that's all you can do. And I got the best compliment yesterday. I was running around yesterday like a chicken with its head cut off. The one girl is not certified, so she can't give vaccines at all. Then, like I said, he isn't comfortable giving vaccines to babies. At one point, I had 3 providers handing me vaccine sheets at the same time. At the same time, my doctor said, here's the vaccines. His doctor said, here's the vaccines. Her doctor said, here's the vaccines. I'm like, I gotta draw all these vaccines. And some kids get 4 vaccines at one time. If each kid had 4 vaccines, y'all, that's 12 vaccines. And it's so particular how you draw them up because you don't want to give the wrong vaccine to the wrong patient. A patient that's on Aetna can't get the same vaccine that a patient on Medicaid gets. So it's a lot, but by the grace of God, I got through it. And you know what she said to me at the end of the day? She was like, this one thing about you. She said, you just don't complain. You didn't complain at all. I saw you doing all this stuff and you just didn't complain. You just sat there and said, I'll do it. I'll do the vaccines. And I'm just like, thank you. Because, I mean, I'll complain when I come home. But I'm not that kind of person at work that's going to say, oh, I don't want to give vaccines. Because that's not me. I'm not like that. Like, and my grandma be talking about me. She's like, you complain about your job, but you love it to death. And I'm like, I do. I mean, there's certain things I don't really care about. But all I want to do in life is do my best. And all I want to do in life is just let God shine through me, you know? So I'm not going to sit there and complain. Even when I'm stressed out, even when the doctor had me on the verge of tears because he was talking so smart to me. And on the days where it's just so stressful that I just want to go in the bathroom and cry and just scream, I don't let that show, you know? Because trust me, I've only been there for a month, but there has been days where I just wanted to pull my hair out of my head. But that's healthcare, y'all. I'm just being 100% with y'all. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie. It ain't easy. It ain't easy at all. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know everything yet. I'm still learning. So I will update this in a few months, and then we'll keep the updates going. And wherever the Lord leads me is wherever he leads me, y'all. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to know when I post, and share this video with your friends. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys, love you.